the heck is the TAC at? You gotta be like freaking Indiana Jones to find this thing or something? Rob. Dude, where are you at? You said I could walk to in the lobby.
Welcome. It is time for TWTV. My name is Rob Boyd.
And I'm Jimmy Ray Purser.
In fact, it's TWTV.
TAC edition.
TAC edition. Nice job. You could have sold it with a little more energy, I think.
Well, I thought you were going to say it with me.
Oh, we were supposed to say it simultaneously?
Yeah, it's because it's kind of like, that road trip, like you say in Animal House.
Next one.
Road trip. Okay.
Next one.
Next
All
one.
right.
This will take, what, like 8?
It took a while. I quit counting.
Yeah.
It took a while to get here because we've talked about TAC before, but one of the things that we'd always wanted to do was to actually go to TAC, to be able to figure out what is happening behind the scenes. And I think this is finally our moment, our chance to do it. And hey, I want to thank the TAC Security podcast guys, David, Magnus, and Jay Johnston.
Magnus.
Yeah, how could you forget a name like
I'd
Magnus?
like to have another kid named Magnus. That'd be a cool name. That's a kicking name.
That'll be another show.
Okay.
We'll cover that. So let me ask you, what do you think is most important for this subject?
The most important part to me would be the lab piece. Find out how they actually recreate these customer labs and build them so that we get an accurate representation of what customers are seeing out there. There's so many infinite possibilities. How do you do that? How do you have all that much, how the equipment and possible configure? How do you make that work? Logistically, that seems unbelievable.
So the purpose of the labs here is to literally recreate what the customer is experiencing, which is potentially an extremely large or big question to have to answer, yes?
Look at all the variables you got. Code, cables, equipment types, firmware types. You got all kinds of different ways. I mean, to recreate that from scratch to actually get this to see what the customer's seeing, that's pretty heavy duty.
Where would you fall in on terms of troubleshooting and what's important to discover there?
I would like to see a lot of people, like myself included, think that all the tech support guys are using these secret tools and these secret command lines to access stuff. It's like they know the secret password and the switch or the router's going to pop up and say, your problem is this GBIC, But that's not true. These guys have actually found that some of the troubleshooting tools are not what they wanted, and they wrote their own. They rolled their own, and they released them to the public. I want to know about what some of these tools are.
All right. Well, we got a lot of that and much more because we are going behind the scenes. It's our TAC show. We got access to all the people and all the facilities throughout this entire building. I'm excited to be here.
Even the galley?
The galley? Oh, the food?
Yeah.
No. What do I understand? Oh, it looks like Steve is ready.
You freaking taking phone calls during the show?
No. It's a text. It's a text from
Oh, Steve, that's the executive you need to do.
Steve
yeah,
Yeager. Exactly. All right, guys, we got a full show coming up for you right now. So, Steve Yeager, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate
Nice to see you.
Well, it is nice to see you because we spent some time on the phone getting ready for this, and to be honest, we have wanted to pursue a show about Cisco's Technical Assistance Center. And it's changed a lot over time. We've been doing the show for almost 8 years now, and some of the stuff we have done has been segments of other shows, but what was really missing and what we've got to do through meeting a lot of the guys you work with is go through the labs and really dig in here. And so we're going to be able to bring that to our audience, but I want to make sure we fully understand exactly what's been created here. And so first, let's just set the stage. You are VP of Technical Services.
That's correct.
You're the TAC guy from a business perspective,
That's
right?
exactly right. It's a great way to look at it. I'm guessing, though, in 8 years of doing this show, you probably didn't have all that gray hair when you started doing this.
No, it got a little bit gray. And sometimes when we go on the road, we can't afford the makeup person to take that out for me.
So, yeah, you got to
So it varies from episode to episode.
I refer to this as Arctic Blonde myself, just so you know. But, yeah, I'm the TAC business guy.
Karma, my friend.
That's right. It's going to happen.
Coming your way.
Is it good?
You young guys.
So I absolutely am the TS business guy and represent technical services to the industry.
So tell me, and again, we're speaking to a customer audience and a technical audience. How do you describe the value of what you guys are accomplishing here and where you are today versus where you've been perhaps?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I think of what technical services represents to our customers, which is what's important, I think early on, Cisco did a great job of establishing value with customers around owning cases no matter where they landed. We had an idea that from the very beginning, my boss, Joe Pinto, who I think is a legend in the industry, Joe is amazing, he built into it's all about the customer. And we go where it's necessary to solve the problem. Do what it takes on behalf of our customers. Own the issue. You don't see us trying to hand cases to someone or try to defer them. We try to own them. And so that value has been inside the core of the culture of TS from the very beginning.
Because I think when it comes to and I'm going to just call it from the generic, not so flattering industry perspective.
Sure.
When people think of, I got to call the help desk because I'm at my wit's end, something's not working. And,
Sure.
And in most people's minds, for most companies, I think it's a dreaded experience in that they assume that they're going to be on hold. They're going to get asked questions that they are smart enough to have already handled,
Sure.
and they're really just trying to get to the right technical person. You guys have taken that stuff head on. You mentioned it's beyond lip service of saying we're going to own the problem. You mean that from a competitive standpoint. You mean that from the fact that we're looking at customer solutions, right? Not just
Absolutely.
defining what the Cisco responsibility is and then bugging out.
Absolutely. That is something we try to pride ourselves on. And by the way, we live in the real world. 1.8 million cases annually. We make mistakes, right? We live in a real world where things happen, and it's never perfect,
Yeah.
right? We believe in our core it is about owning wherever it goes. If it's Microsoft, if it's Oracle, if it's somebody else's, and we need to stay to drive those. We pride ourselves in being that's who we are. So, and the world we're going to as well is no longer as simple as a point product. Mm-hmm. It used to be all about one product. You bought a product, you bought a router or a switch, and you just needed to support that in the infrastructure.
Those were good days.
Oh, they were good, weren't they? And now it's gone to be more about the solution, right?
Yeah.
And a solution is a nebulous term in the industry, but the solution defined by us is it's many Cisco products, it's also third-party products attached to it in order to provide an outcome, an IT outcome on behalf of our customers. And we need to support the outcome, not just the product. And we're heading in a direction where we're trying to make sure that's who we are. And we believe we're well on our way. We can always get better.
One of the things that jumps out at me is it's one thing to say that we are going to own issues all the way through and this type of thing. It's quite another to deliver, especially at the scale in which you, with as much volume as Cisco does and continues to grow towards, I would think that there is a huge combination of putting the right people in and continue to nurture and build that in such a way that can scale, as well as the right systems to support those people. Is that a fair way to say that these are two areas that you're heavily invested in?
First of all, it's always about our people. You're going to later. I hope you get a chance to meet some of our amazing engineers.
It's on the schedule.
That's awesome because they're amazing. There's nobody better in the world than our engineers, and it's about building a culture around them and providing them a platform. Right? Trying to attract young talent. We work every year, by the way, to bring in young, new talent to let them come and grow inside technical support and grow into being industry leaders. Many of our former TAC engineers from 20 years ago are executives inside Cisco now, and there are others that are now leading entire technology segments. So TAC is a great place for young people to come learn and spread their wings, and we continue to be that. But it's also, like you said, about the tools. So building tools. Tools happen in lots of different ways. They happen in big ways, but they often happen under the desk of our engineers. So as you meet our engineers, you're going to find out that they innovate every day. Yeah. They built some of the stuff started out just by building a server and an idea in technical support to solve a problem on behalf of customers, to automate things, to solve a problem and a bug and enhance feature sets inside our products. And so we think it's an exciting place because those engineers get to have broad-based impact.
Right.
Through that technology, whether they're building innovation platforms or they're providing support.
Now that's neat because what you're saying there, that's a culture of not just owning the customer problem, but owning the fact that, hey, other customers could have this same problem. My peers could benefit from this knowledge. Putting the systems in place and then having the right people that are willing to invest in those systems to be able to say, how can we all get better at solving this particular issue and just make it simpler the next time?
It's still the same place. I'll tell you, Cisco has always been inside the TAC, there's a culture.
Yeah.
And that culture is all about holding each other accountable too. We're not over there saying, you need to do this. They have an expectation. They're going to raise each other up and raise the level of innovation, raise the level of thinking. Many patents come out of the technical services team. Many intellectual property ideas for Cisco come from these teams.
Yeah, I wrote down, they authored 22 RFCs, so they give them back to the community, 38 active IETF drafts, 323 patents with another 472 pending.
Welcome to Cisco.
Yeah.
TS is alive and well, and these engineers are the best in the industry. So.
Now, you seem like a very smart guy, but is that intimidating at all, having to oversee a bunch of
Rob.
brainiacs like that?
They're much smarter than I'll ever be.
Yeah.
And so, it's a pleasure to work alongside amazing people. So you can see our engineers sitting at the table with VPs and directors, driving strategy, innovation, ideas, the way we do things, and making sure it's at the forefront of everything we do. Yeah. And so you can see them. They're brilliant. And they are intimidating as all get out.
Let me ask you one well, I agree with that because I'm not an engineer myself either, but I work with engineers continually as part of what we do here, and I depend on them to educate me, and that's a fun part, but it's a lot to keep up with. The one thing I wanted to hit on, because I'm curious if you have any oversight into this one, is we as a company, not only are we large, but we are very acquisitive. So we acquire a lot of other companies.
Did you say acquisitive? Okay.
Yeah, is that the right way to pronounce it?
I don't know. Somebody needs to check that word. Webster's or something. All right. Acquisitive. All right, let's go. Keep
Yeah.
going. So we acquire lots of
We
companies.
acquire a lot of companies, not inquisitive, that would be different.
That's right.
But we acquire a lot of companies that have a lot of intellectual property, and from a product development side or perhaps engineering and development that customers would see directly. A lot of smart people we acquire. How do you guys handle the fact that that means you've got a constantly moving target? Because we're doing over 20, 30 of these a year at a minimum, I think.
Absolutely, lots. Let's just go with lots, right?
Okay, lots.
But we do, and so I happen to have the luxury and the opportunity to be the person that many times receives these teams as we acquire them from a technical support perspective. And it's really important because think about this: we acquire these great technology groups, and they have great support teams. We bring them in, and what we're going to do is we could easily take them and throw them right into the large TAC that's been developed over 25 years. But what we try to do is help give them a staging point where they come in and they bring their ideas, the things they've learned, how they're doing things differently, and try to bring the learnings forward to make Cisco TAC and Cisco Technical Services better, not just, hey, come assimilate to us. And so we work very hard to try to bring them in, learn from them, be a part of them, and then bring them to the team and bring those learnings forward and make us all better, rise the tide, if you will, by bringing that intelligence to the table every time.
So it'd be fair to say that's what's applied towards the fact that I know that we can't call them out here, but there's several large launches coming up, as there always are, within Cisco.
Yes.
You guys are working behind the scenes to prepare for the fact that you're expecting probably an increase in volume of inquiries or issues as people jump right on, perhaps as early adopters of new stuff that we come out with, and you guys have to be right there, ready to go. You can't say, "Ooh, I don't know," or that's a source fire thing. I don't think I can answer that.
That's right, Rob. We don't have that luxury in our world of saying, sorry, we don't want to take that call. The reality is we take all calls. We take every customer. We take those problems on. And so SourceFire is a great example, right? SourceFire we just recently brought in. What a brilliant group of engineers. They bring so much to the table. We're so excited to have them part of technical support. And so we have that team ramped and ready to go to be a part of that security team and help driving the next generation of TS and the TAC.
Hey, as a final point here, just talking to our audience, would you encourage any up-and-coming young engineers that are working that this might be a place that they should seek out to get their feet wet and learn how to work with Cisco and get as educated and as solid as they could?
Absolutely. What a great place to start. Now, we think we're innovative. We're a place that people can learn and grow. It's a place you get a wide breadth of technology expertise. Think about the different products that Cisco represents now, and you can go across many different product sets, learn depth, engage with customers to understand how they work, and have fun, because I'll tell you, as you meet our engineers, they're a lot of fun. So what a great place to work and a great environment to cut your teeth. If I was a young engineer, we hire young engineers every year. Come on to Cisco.
Excellent. Well said. I love the fact they get their hands dirty with the gear here as well. This is not a theoretical environment by any means, because it can't be, right?
That's right.
Anyway, buck stops right here. Thank you so much, Steve.
Rob, thanks for the time. Great to see you.
We'd like to think that nothing ever goes wrong with our gear, but be it Cisco or anyone else's, things do go wrong. Equipment fails, networks don't function the way we originally anticipated. So then it becomes what happens next? What happens when you reach out for help? There you are in your overly air-conditioned little office, perhaps in the data center, tucked away, and your world is crumbling around you. You need help, and you reach out. So you're going to make that call. You're going to reach out, and you're going to say, I need help. But what happens next?
It actually goes to an engineer sitting at a desk just like this. As a matter of fact, not only does it go to an engineer at a desk like that, this is obviously a voice desk, right? There are hundreds of desks out here that have all kinds of problems. Heck, over there's the video lab. Over here, this is the security side of the house. And they all have all this equipment in here to solve your problems. And the neat thing about this is, you don't have a engineer, you don't have someone like Jimmy Ray on the phone talking to your problem. You get a team. You get this massive group of people that will swarm a problem and attack it to try and knock it down as quickly as possible. And they've got all the tools at their disposal to actually make this happen. Of course, they can talk to you on the phone, but they can WebEx, they can share screens. You can actually get that nice personal relationship going. They can go over here and say, looks like you're going through a firewall. Let me grab one of the security guys. Hey, Tom, come over here a second, and actually work on that just right now and literally bring this problem to resolve as fast as humanly possible. You're not getting a desk, you're getting a whole team of people.
This place is fantastic. You think about how a fingerprint is so unique to every individual, and then you think to how many Cisco customer networks there are out there, and every single one of them is unique. And so then you take that fact and you go, these labs are designed to recreate any customer problem, no matter what it is, anywhere in the world, 365 days a year in under 4 hours. How do you do that? How do you do that efficiently? How do you do that at scale? Well, those are the very questions that need to be answered, and they have been answered. And Jimmy Ray, sat down with a designer who spent the last 20 years of his career here at Cisco building just that capability.
Dave, over 30 rows of equipment, a whole cabinet full of SFPs, racks and racks of line cards in a room dedicated to it. This lab is incredible. I mean, this is amazing. Is this what you get when you work at TAC?
Well, the TAC is a follow the sun model, right? I mean, wherever you are, there's always a local engineer to help you. And so the TAC labs are follow the sun too. So we have 9 global labs that operate as one system. So any engineer anywhere in the world can request a build for their customer, and that build will move to the lab with the available equipment. Now here in RTP, they do 40% of the world's work. Massive operation, 24/7, 21,000 square feet. Globally, over 30,000 recreates a year are done for our customers. That's 30,000 networks built to either troubleshoot or diagnose an issue. It could be a configuration, could be anything, hardware, software, whatever. 30,000 recreates a year built within hours for our customers out of this facility.
You're kidding, and you test for bugs, and when people report that they've got an issue here, this is where, I mean, this is full service.
This is our incubation. The labs is where things are built, created, innovated, troubleshot, diagnose, everything. And this is where it happens, and Cisco has invested billions to make these labs state-of-the-art, the best in the world, fast, you know, economical, frugal. We save 40% of the power by shutting things off when they're idle. At the same,
do you really?
Yeah, we measure utilization. There's always equipment coming in, older equipment leaving. I mean, the fur is flying here. We've got 20 plus college interns, swarming problems, coming in here, building things for the master engineers out there. It's quite an operation.
Oh, so you got your master engineers, your CCIEs, they all sit out here, handling the front end of customers, and then you've got the interns coming here and get experience. That's a win-win.
Oh, you bet. And then they become future Cisco TAC engineers.
That's pretty smart, educating your next workforce, or even if they go somewhere else, they've got some great knowledge, that's for darn sure.
You bet.
Well, now, what else can you tell us about this lab? I mean, I know we just got a little bit of time, but I'm seeing so much equipment here, some of the old stuff, some brand new gear. I mean, you guys really go the full gamut.
Oh, you bet. Well, you've got to understand that for every lab, it's really 2 labs in one. On the one hand, we have all the core equipment, the routers, the switches, the security equipment, the hardware, the big iron, right? And we invest heavily in that. We also have a virtual side of the house. And as you know, software and software-defined networking, software-defined labs is big at Cisco. It's growing throughout the world. And we have over 17,000 virtual machines on the globe to support the engineers to build our customer networks.
Yeah, I want to go check that out, but I want to ask you something here real quick, because I noticed in doing my walk around here, you also had a lot of competitor equipment in here too. So you guys don't say that if a problem goes from one of our boxes to a competitor box, you don't like say, well, you need to call them.
No.
You'll still troubleshoot.
The buck stops at the TAC. It always has. We stop at nothing.
That's
to
cool.
Recreate and fix and diagnose a problem. And if the customer is a Cisco customer, then they're our customer, and I don't care what else is there, we're going to fix their problem.
And you say that because you've been here for 20 years. You know that for a fact.
You bet. We've been doing this for 20 years. Cisco equipment, Cisco software and hardware is the best in the world, but also the service behind that makes sure that those customer networks stay up and do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, speaking of customer networks, I want to go over and take a look at the virtual stuff, because I've got to see those VMs over there. So come on, man, just check this out. Interesting thing about that walk we just did, that was about 1/8 of the lab from where we started and walked through, because that was just 1/8 where we started. So I'm glad we didn't start at the far end, because we'd probably still be walking.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? Just the virtual side, what do you guys got here?
Well, the beauty of Cisco Labs is we can use anything Cisco sells. It's Cisco on Cisco, which means we have the best automation, hardware, software, and virtualization in the world. So what you're looking at here is 5,000 virtual machines in just 3 or 4 racks. Cisco UCS, Cisco Compute with partner storage, creating 5,000 virtual machines for any engineer to leverage to create a customer issue, a problem, or environment.
So you got the physical side over there, the virtual side over here. You guys can really just duplicate just about anything in the world.
Oh, you bet. With a lab this big, over 10,000 chassis, over 23,000 network devices and server devices in the lab, we have to have an integrated checkout system, case system, procurement system, and automation. Power automation, inventory automation, and virtualization.
That's the real thing here, is like anybody can amass a bunch of equipment, but managing it, the logistics of actually controlling who gets what is pretty critical. Because that was one of the questions I had for you coming in here, is that I know how you guys feed all these other labs and how every engineer can tap into this and really take it to the next level. How in the world do you keep because if I'm doing a problem, it's very rarely I'm going to solve it in an hour or in a shift. It's going to carry over or be passed to another engineer possibly. How do I keep an engineer in Australia coming in and overwriting the configuration I'm doing here for somebody in Brazil?
It's like a library model. We have a checkout system, and if the stuff is checked out to you, nobody else uses it. Furthermore, if you need a build, you can be anywhere in the world. If you need something built, you define what you need built, and all the inventories of all the TAC labs in the world are searched, and that work is moved to the lab that has the available equipment today, now, along with the staff and whatever's necessary.
That's pretty cool. I mean, when you think about it, you're not limited by the inventory in this lab. If for some unknown reason you guys don't have it, then they'll go somewhere else and get it, and it's just it's transparent to the user. It's just the fact is, here's the problem, here's what I need, and let's get it solved.
Oh yeah, labs are a science at Cisco. We get up in the morning and we think about labs. How can we make these labs as efficient and fast and effective as possible?
What do you mean it's a science? I mean, what does that word
Well,
mean?
you start with the tools, you start with the systems. They've got to be world-class. They've got to be integrated to each other, and you wrap that around a team that is dedicated full-time, not part-time lab people, full-time lab people. They're just thinking about how can this lab be great. And
You got people dedicated that they're only not answering phones or building configs. Their focus is building out labs?
just in the TAC alone, there's 110 full-time people dedicated to the lab.
Holy smoke.
To build, now a lot of them are, college interns, but they will swarm something and build it within hours to make sure that that customer is up and happy and that customer network or server hosting is working.
That's, wow. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm blown away by what you guys do here. So before we wrap up and go on to something else pretty cool you guys have here, what are some final thoughts you want people to know about TAC? You're obviously the best. Mm-hmm. You obviously make a $1 billion, over a $500 million investment in all this gear. Mm-hmm. What else do we need to know here to let us know that if you got the problem, don't worry about it?
Cisco makes the best networking equipment, the best virtualization and server equipment in the world, but then we back it up with this massive investment, well thought out power tool to recreate customer environments within hours. That's all for our customers. That's all we care about. That's what we do. We will stop at nothing to make sure that Cisco networks and servers are the best in the world.
Dave, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I think that says it better than anything. We will stop at nothing.
One thing I love about engineers is that they love to solve problems. In fact, you put a group of engineers in one room, in fact, you put them in one building for any length of time, and chances are very, very high that they're going to start working together to solve problems. In fact, they're going to start creating tools to solve problems. And here at TAC, they don't only develop tools for themselves, they develop tools that can also be made to work for customers, where customers are solving their own problems. It's interesting, and I wish we could show you all the tools that we have come across on this, but frankly, some of the ones we wanted to show you, they said we couldn't, and some of them are still in beta. But we picked a few out. We'll take a look at those now.
David White, I think one of the most impressive things about TAC is that you guys are not just folks that answer the phones,
That's right.
Solve problems. You guys also do a fair amount of innovation. Well, I mean a fair amount. If you don't have a tool, you just invent it.
That's right.
And so you brought one here that you actually have. How many patents do you have on this thing?
4 patents on it.
4 patents on this one tool.
That's right.
Dude, we got to cover this. What is this thing?
This is called Packet Tracer for the ASA. And And what Packet Tracer does is allows you to trace the packet through a device, or through the ASA in this case. And the ASA will record every action it takes on that packet. So when it inspects it, right, when it determines a route check, when it passes it through the ACL or any NAT changes that it does, it'll record all those actions, show you those, and show you the corresponding lines in the configuration that match the actions that it took. So if there was something that you want to change, you can go and quickly correct it, and boom, you're done.
Very cool. How does it work? Show me what we're looking at.
So here we have ASDM, right, running on an ASA, and you go to the Tools menu, and you just pick Packet Tracer. Here you have a nice graphic screen that asks you to pick, which interface do you want the packet to be injected into. Here I'm going to say the outside interface, source IP, destination IP, and ports. And you hit start, and you can see this nice animation here. It lets you know what command's going to be sent. Nice animation lets you know what actions it's looking at right now, so you can see it's going through the different processes of unnatting, access list check, NAT lookup, IP options, and you can see it's building down below, right, each of these phases, and it gives you a result. In this case, the packet did not get permitted, right, and we look, and it's because an access group was applied that disabled it, right? It dropped that packet. So also one of the things that we notice here is the packet was routed from the outside to the DMZ. And now in this particular case, that packet is supposed to go to a server on the inside. I'm trying to hit a web server on the inside. So it's being dropped by an ACL, but it's telling me it's getting routed to the DMZ interface. And I find that interesting. So I'm going to go back up and look at the NAT options that we've got. So we've got the NAT and unnat, and it tells me actually which object, right, and which NAT command are causing the packet to get natted from the outside to the DMZ. So I want to click Show That Rules in the NAT table, and I can see it here, and I'm going to go ahead and edit that because that was incorrect. I made a typo on my fault. That was supposed to be a 55 here instead of a 50, so I'm going to go ahead and change that to 55, hit OK. I'm going to apply the config, okay? It's going to send it to the ASA. I'm going to go back over to the Packet Tracer now, and now I'm going to retrace this packet. So again, I don't have to edit anything. It's letting us know, again, you can do this from the CLI as well as from the GUI, and so I'm just having it show you what command's going to be sent to the CLI. Now, it's running the Packet Tracer again on the ASA itself, and it's reporting back the different stages in ASDM, as you see here. And here what we're going to see is because I've corrected my misconfiguration in the NAT section, it's now going to be permitted to the inside interface. And so you can see the different actions on the right side of the screen. And again, the output interface is now the inside, and the packet is passed. So, okay. So we can also look at any stage that we want to see. We can look at the access list stage, and it lets us know which rule is getting hit, or we can look at the NAT stages. We have multiple different NAT stages depending on what's happening, but here's the correct object that we're now hitting, and it's being sent from the outside to the inside interface. So again, in quick summary, it takes a packet that you inject into the interface, and it records every action taken on that packet, and it shows you not just the action, but also the config that corresponds to that action that was taken.
Holy friggin' crap, that is awesome, man.
Pretty cool,
That
isn't
is
it?
really cool, man.
So we one-upped this, right? So this was a packet that I injected, right? I created it up at the top, and I'm injecting it into the interface of the ASA. So the next thing we did is we said, you can capture a packet using the capture feature on the ASA itself, and then you can take any packet that you capture coming in on that interface and trace it as well, right? So instead of having to fabricate a packet, maybe I want to look at a GET packet specifically, right? Fourth packet, right?
Yeah,
The GET
yeah.
request, because we're going to do some advanced application inspection on it. Well, I can trace those actions as well. So not only can you do it on a fabricated packet, which allows you to test rules and troubleshoot, but you can actually do it on packets that you capture on the wire from the ASA. What do you think of that?
Huh.
Speechless.
That's really cool. I mean, that would save so much time.
It does. Our customers
That's
love it.
unreal. You
And,
let
the
customers
TAC
use this?
Oh yeah, any customer can get this in ASDM and the ASA. Customers love it. TAC engineers use this hundreds of times a day. It saves so much time. So any customer out there that has an ASA and ASDM that hasn't used Packet Tracer, use it. It will save you so many hours in your day in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. That is really that's one of the coolest things. I mean, the lab was great. I can actually see where I can use this to save tons of time.
Absolutely.
Troubleshooting the field. Holy, because firewalls can be a real pain in the tail.
They can, and of course, if there's a problem with communication between two devices, it's always the firewall fault.
Yeah, right.
Everyone blames the firewall.
Well, of course.
So this actually helps us prove a lot of times that it's not our fault. That something else down the path is actually blocking or stopping it.
Oh, David White. I mean, this is one of the first tools that we've seen. So I think that I think we got just enough time. Hey, Rob, you got time to do another one over there? All right, he's giving me a thumbs up. So we're going to bring in somebody else, show another tool over here. I'm going to cut you loose so you can go do some other stuff. But, man, Packet Tracer.
Packet tracer.
You are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
So Andy Gossett, as I understand it, you have developed a tool for troubleshooting based on your experience. You're in the technical leadership team for switching, and you saw a need for something to help customers potentially even solve their own problems with regards to a lot of the switches you work with, 6500, 7600, and it's the NetDR parser, if I said it correct.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we have this built-in tool on 6500, 7600 platforms. It's called a NetDriver. And it's basically the iOS portion of code that accepts frames going to the CPU to be software handled, right? So the tool exists, and it kind of does a raw dump of all the traffic that's going to the CPU. So it would be nice if we could parse through that in a better way to see things like top talkers and get an idea of what traffic is actually hitting the CPU.
So you sent me a sample just to kind of take a look at here, and I'm going to switch over. So this is an example of the raw output that comes out of what did you call it again?
NetDR, right?
It is NetDR before we've had a chance to parse
Exactly.
it, correct?
So it's not really user friendly. I mean, we can look through it, and if you have a lot of experience with it, then you can pick it out real quick. But it'd be nicer if this was in a better form.
I can't follow the plot. I can't see the main characters. I'm not really quite sure what the motivation is, but that's what your tool is for, correct? So if we go back over, this is a tool, and we'll put a link in the show notes. You can get to the tool, and it's literally just this simple. As I was playing with it before, we can either cut and paste, but you said these files could be quite large, although they're just text files.
Right.
But in this case, we'll just take an upload. We'll select that file that we had gotten off of our switch in our make-believe setup here, and then this is an example of the output to make it a bit more readable. So tell me what we're seeing here that's better now?
Yeah, so here what we see is the top talker. So I can get a list of all the devices that we're sending traffic. I can sort them by MAC address or IP address, and I can get an idea of the exact frames that are there.
That's a lot more readable.
And if I like, I could go and convert that to a PCAP file and look at it in Wireshark.
Okay, so for customers who are used to looking at that type of output, they can keep it consistent as well too there.
Exactly.
Now, this is information sometimes you would actually ask customers to send to you if they hadn't actually solved the problem on their own?
Yeah, so a very common case that this would address is high CPU. So, and we see it often. So when we have high CPU, the first question is there some type of traffic that's going to the control plane that we wouldn't expect? Okay. So this tool will allow us to see what that traffic is. But really what we're trying to address here is we're trying to open up and share some of the tools that TAC's creating for customers to use. Because it's not always a complicated problem, right? There's scenarios where maybe you have a single host that's malfunctioning or something, just blasting the network with broadcasts. A customer could take the same tool and do a quick look and see, hey, all the traffic's from one host, and then they can isolate that problem on their own. So we're really just trying to empower customers with the same tools that we have. And this is just one example that TAC is trying.
So you're not offended should a customer solve their own problem prior to calling you? You wouldn't take that personally?
Absolutely not. So if we can help the customer expedite the resolution, whatever their problem is, then that's a success for us.
Well, it's good to have guys like you on the team making this kind of stuff to help us solve problems. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to stay after school, so to speak. But hey, first of all, I want to thank you, the three of you. So to our audience, these guys represent the TAC Security Podcast, and that is how we started researching this show and set it up. We reached out to Jay and quickly got in touch with these guys that we were already familiar with from the show. But you guys have shown us amazing hospitality, introducing us around, getting us into labs that our badges wouldn't get us into, and really showing us a lot more, which is the full intention of this show, and hopefully it came across the audience, that there is so much more going on here to our customers' benefit and a lot to the employee benefit and partner benefit than I would have ever expected. So hats off to you guys, and also to our audience. If you're not already subscribed to their podcast, I'll put a link in the show notes, but it's not hard to find. It's the TAC Security Podcast. It'll be one of the first things that shows up in podcasts because they are extremely consistent. You guys have been doing this for 3+ years. You're all technical leaders. You're all security specialists. And so with that, I want to make sure that we are well-rounded on this show, that we make sure that we've covered the angles that people wouldn't have expected. And so I'm going to start with you, David. Help me understand, one of the things that came out that I don't believe we got a chance to cover was the information that you guys learn and how it gets shared back with product development. Does it inform product development?
Absolutely. We are a partner with product development. So we work with the engineering teams to let them know what problems that we're seeing in the field, where we see not just onesie twosies of events, but where we're seeing pockets of things appear, and then we work with them to resolve those. But at the same time, we work to innovate in new capabilities that, hey, our customer wants this or wants that. we help work to innovate new features as well as new troubleshooting tools, as we kind of covered before, as well as we work with a product management group and all levels of engineering, from the DE all the way up to the director and VP, to let them know, hey, here's the pain points customers have, and here's what we can do to solve those pain points.
Does that also include bugs? Because it seems
Absolutely.
like, one of the things that Jimmy had in his notes when we were preparing for this was, what do you do with bug information? Is that fed back as well? And do you work tightly with testing those things out?
Absolutely. We do both, right? So obviously we file bugs. Now, there's only a small percentage of TAC cases actually have new bugs associated with them, right? So, talking about 3% or so. But when we file those bugs, we recreate them in the labs that we showed you, right? And then we work with the development engineer assigned to that bug to verify that they indeed did fix the problem. Sometimes we actually will fix it ourselves, right? We can go into the code, look at it, and say, hey, here's what we believe the fix is. Get them to validate it. We test it with them before we give it to a customer, right? We do the testing to make sure that, yep, it does indeed fix the problem, and when we give it to the customer.
Excellent. So that also brings to mind, that's knowledge sharing kind of from a with product development perspective, and certainly with tracking and squashing bugs. But Magnus, I'm curious from your perspective, how do you take this information? You assume that so much knowledge is generated potentially in silos in an operation like this. How do you guys keep from answering the same question over and over again, not knowing that you're all working on it?
For us, it's a lot of identifying common trends and issues, as David mentioned, and then finding ways to get our knowledge. We're like walking, talking encyclopedias, getting that knowledge out to the customers, getting it out into the field. So a lot of times we're looking to solve issues faster. I mean, we've seen a lot. There's a lot of experience. And getting that documented in customer consumable forms, getting it externalized on Cisco.com, getting it presented wherever possible becomes a key factor of what we do to improve customer satisfaction in the long run.
Yeah, and it's really it's a challenge, right? Our products are really complex. They do a lot of things, and so we have to specialize. We have to really focus in on, okay, I'm going to be a specialist on the ASA firewall, but even there I'm going to be a specialist on advanced application inspection. And so I've got this information in my head. I need to get it out there to not just the engineers that I work with around the world, but I need to get as much of it as I can out to customers. If they're researching a problem or they encounter an issue on a maintenance window or something and they Google the syslog or the error message, that they're going to come right to TAC author knowledge that's going to get them to the resolution faster than any other documentation out there. So we work hard to get as much of our TAC brains out onto the internet for customers to use.
I'm glad you started bringing that up, because you guys do so much more, not just the TAC security pod. You do so much more that I don't think is required, at least I don't believe so, as part of your job. But yeah, I've enjoyed hearing you speak, for instance, at Cisco Live. I've heard you all guys speak in our internal forums. We've got these virtual teams and such. Because you have a lot of knowledge. Everybody's hanging on every word you say. They're playing your recordings over and over, and that was certainly part of our research for coming here as well. Is that part of your job? Is that something you enjoy? Are you forced to do it?
No, we're not forced to do it. And the number one thing that we're doing day to day is solving customer issues. That's our focus. But because we're on the front lines, we're working with customers in the most up-to-date solutions out there in the networking industry. We see the most up-to-date problems. We're seeing the ones that are hitting the most customers. We're seeing the more complicated issues. And so if we can take that knowledge and get it out to customers in lots of different ways, like via knowledge or via something like the TAC Security Podcast or at Cisco Live, we really like to do that. TAC engineers score among the highest scores from customers at Cisco Live with our presentations. Yep. Yeah. Besides, getting out there and talking to customers about troubleshooting, we love getting out there and bumping into customers on the floor that we've worked with, sometimes for years, on different issues, but we get to put a face to the name, and that's really fun to swap war stories with them and meet them in person, so that's great.
Hey, speaking of war stories, I'm sure you guys have been on the front lines for a while. What are some of your most memorable TAC experiences?
Yeah, there's some that stand out. I know, David, you were talking about some that...
Yeah, I love the one, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie, right? There was a LAN switching case where the customer was trying to find this LAN, the switch that they had, right? Because they were having a problem, and the TAC engineer was like, it's connected to the, port 5.6, right? And they're like, well, I see the cable, but I can't find that switch. And they're like, okay, well, chase the cable. He chases it down one floor into the basement, and it goes behind a wall. And the TAC engineer's like, I swear there's a switch connected there. It's a catalyst, right? They tear through the wall, through the drywall, and sure enough, there's a catalyst humming along, all dusty and everything, been sitting there for years. They drywalled over it. Someone put a wall in front of it, right? Other stories are, you get on boxes, and, I was on a box a little while ago. It was a PIX. It had been up for 9 years, right? We talk about reliability, right? We started to capture some of these things, right? We've had routers up 7, 8, 9 years because customers say, hey, how long, some customers actually tell us, hey, this thing's been up for a month. I need to reboot it. We're like, why do you need to reboot it? It's not a Windows box, right? It's a Cisco device. It can stay up forever, right?
Yeah, I got a guy on Facebook that posts every year his router's been up. I think right now he's on 8 years. Yeah. And he's like, look how long my router's been up. I'm like, dude, that's friggin' heavy duty. That is all right.
Sometimes we get weird cases. Like I remember one we were talking about where every Sunday night or something, the router would power off and they thought the router was crashing. And we looked, there was no crash file. And the diagnostics showed that it was just losing power. So worked with the customer for a long time.
And it was on UPS too.
Yeah, and it was on
It was on UPS, and the customer like, how can this be?
So we work with the customer for a long time, and often, the solutions to these problems are really complex, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're very simple. And after the customer further investigated the issue, they found that the cleaning crew would come by every Sunday night at that time, unplug the router, plug in their vacuum cleaners, and then
No way.
and
There was
the
no
issue.
available outlets.
Oh, that is awesome, man. That is a great story.
But thankfully, the vacuum cleaner was on battery backup for that period of time. So if they had a blackout, it was still very clean.
Well, that's good. That's good, though. That's good. Keeps the dust out. We don't want dust in the equipment, right? I mean, come on, let's be serious. Very cool. Very cool.
Oh man, you guys are like ghost. I got it. These guys are like ghost hunters. I like that. So is that a fun part of the job? Just being able to because here's the thing that strikes me about engineers. You guys like to solve problems.
Certainly.
And because one of the things I've learned working with engineers throughout my career here at Cisco is that you got to be careful what you ask an engineer because they are going to answer it. And sometimes I've found, at least in my own personal cases, I've given up caring about the answer to the question before some questions have been answered. That's why I'm careful about what I ask you. But listen, hey, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. Your hospitality here at RTP. If there was another office I had a chance to go live near with the green trees and the humidity I don't much like, but I'm used to that in Texas.
Well, Texas.
Yeah, no kidding. But still, this is a beautiful place and a lot of smart people here. Thank you again for letting us into your home and letting us play. This has been a lot of fun. And guys, I hope this has been good for you as well. This show has been another fun one to play with. We hope to bring more like this. Pay attention.
Heck, far, yeah, I'm sorry.
You're checking your
Someone
email, aren't you?
called me. Somebody
They called you during the show.
Yeah, I know, which I thought, all right, who's going to call me? And I was going to tweet it out. Well, you didn't call me during the show.
Well, it's not a live show, so maybe they don't realize.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Anyway, well, we're going to answer his call as well, so hopefully it wasn't one of you guys. Please keep watching. All the social media stuff is there on your screen. We'll tune in for the next one. Be sure and check out the TAC Security
Definitely.
Podcast.
Yeah, these guys are happening.
There's another Jimmy Ray endorsement. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. One in the middle.
That's two?
The one in the middle.
Which one's one?
Which one's, yeah, 'cause I don't...
One, two. 1, 2. Got it.
One? So left to right?
Just two.
In the middle?
That's what he said.
The center.
You think it'd be one, because that's the one you want to open up on. You just go right.